Hello, and welcome to Reimagining Love. I'm Dr. Alexandra Solomon. I have been studying relationships for over 20 years as a couples therapist, a professor, an award-winning author, and as a wife, mother, daughter, sister, and friend. Now, I'm inviting you into this space each week as I dig into some of the toughest and most fascinating relational dilemmas of our time. If you want to discover how to create vibrant and loving relationships in your own life, you have come to the right place. This is Reimagining Love. Hi there. I am hoping that your summer, even amid all of this intensity in the world, is also full for you of at least pockets of ease and pockets of connection, and hopefully lots and lots of time with the people and the communities that fill you up. I will tell you that over here in Reimagining Love Land, we're doing some experimenting with the podcast, and that has included creating the mailbag episodes where I get to spend the whole time addressing the incredibly thoughtful questions that come in from you from all over the world. And I have been really enjoying the messages that you send and getting a finger on the pulse of the challenges that you are facing in your relationships and what you're hoping for in your intimate partnerships, especially. So keep submitting your questions. Head to the show notes in any of the episodes for that link. We've got another mailbag coming up here in a few weeks, and we're going to keep talking about, the future of those episodes because I'm kind of digging them. And then today we're sharing with you the second of these special kinds of episodes we've been trying out this summer that we're calling R&R, Revisit and Reflect. And we're doing these because we live in a time of information abundance. That's the best case scenario. Oftentimes it is information overload. And a lot of the information is about mental health and about relational health. And you know that I'm here for it. Heck, I'm out here creating it. But what I also know is that there's a difference between consuming content and integrating content. When we consume, the information sort of passes through us. And when we integrate, the information personalizes and lands inside of us and weaves its way into our unique story, our unique situation, creating insight and the potential for a shift in our mindset, in our emotions, in our beliefs about ourselves and others and the world, and in our behavior. So I'm always thinking about creating opportunities for you to integrate what we talk about here on Reimagining Love. I do that all the time, for example, by posing the relational self-awareness questions that we do during our solo episodes. Well, here with our R&R episodes that we're releasing this summer, it's all about supporting your process of integration. So we're revisiting some of my favorite moments from our show's completely bodacious catalog. At this point, we've been at it for a minute. We've got quite a catalog of incredible conversations. So we're going to listen to a clip together and then we're going to journal together. It's like our own little mini therapy session. We play the clip, you listen, jot down any notes or parts that are resonating for you. And then when the clip is wrapped up, I'm going to share 4 journaling prompts, which you're also going to be able to find in the show notes if you'd rather read them. Now, I know that you might be tempted to just listen and then go about the rest of your day. And I get it. You're busy. It's summer. There are things to do. And hopefully they're like really yummy things to do, like petting dogs, exploring beaches, eating ice cream, hanging out with your people. But if you want to get the most out of this episode, I'm going to ask you to take some time to reflect, to connect what we're learning here to your own life. And that's what creates the insight and the breakthroughs and the transformation in your relationship. So I hope that you will grab your favorite journal and pen or your phone and do this R&R exercise after the audio plays. And today we're revisiting a foundational episode of the podcast. I had the chance to speak with the experts who have left perhaps the all-time biggest mark on the field of couple therapy and relationship psychology, thanks to their groundbreaking research on couples in their apartment lab and their extensive writing about the results of all of their studies. That's right. It's Doctors John and Julie Gottman. If you're a newer listener, or if you didn't have the chance to listen to that episode when it first aired, I'm going to urge you to listen to the episode in full. You'll find it linked in the show notes. So Dr. John Gottman is world renowned for his work on marital stability, on divorce prediction. He's conducted 40 years of truly groundbreaking research with thousands of couples. I don't think that a week goes by where I don't cite something from his research lab in a session with an individual or with a couple, much less here on the podcast. Dr. Julie Schwartz Gottman is a highly respected clinical psychologist. She's just excellent. And they have authored and co-authored many best-selling books, all of which are on my bookshelf, including 8 Dates, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, What Makes Love Last, 10 Lessons to Transform Your Marriage, A Man's Guide to Women, and Baby Makes 3. They're also the co-founders of the Gottman Institute. So you're going to hear an especially impactful clip from our conversation. I chose this segment for a few reasons. For one, Doctors John and Julie share some of the most groundbreaking findings to ever have come out of their love lab, and the data might surprise you, and it might totally transform how you relate to your partner. And then we also chat about the Gottmans relationship principle of small things often. And if there's one thing you take away from the episode today, I hope it's that idea that it's actually the little ways that we show love and care toward our partner, or frankly, anyone that we love, that makes the difference between a distant, dissatisfying relationship and a relationship that is full of connection and intimacy and joy. So take a listen to the clip, and then I'll be back with you to share those journaling prompts. I'll see you on the other side.
A lot of times in the area of relationships, people's intuitions make a great deal of sense and yet turn out to be wrong. When we listen to the data, a lot of times, we sharpen our ability to perceive what is true. So a good example is a study that Robinson and Price did that was published in 1980, where they put observers in couples' homes, just observing husband and wife be nice to each other and recording what they did in an evening to be kind, generous, affectionate, loving to one another. And Robinson and Price trained the couple to do that with one another as well. So husband was observing wife, and an observer was observing the wife, and so on. And what they found was really surprising. Initially, people thought that in unhappy relationships, people are just not very nice to each other. And so they need to really increase positivity. Robinson and Price found that the problem is that people are being positive to one another, but in an unhappy relationship, they miss 50% of the positivity that is actually there. So the problem is perception. Nobody would have really guessed that unless like data. So there's all kinds of surprising things that come out of actually studying what couples do. And I kept track of my own hypotheses over time, and I'm wrong 60% of the time. And it's the data that drive us in a direction that reveals the truth and allows us then, as Julie and I have done, to build theory of why these findings work, what the organization is in relationships. And relational self-awareness, as you mentioned, our relation to relationships is so critical. And if it's driven by data, by the truth, then it's going to be productive. That's really the guiding principle that all of us have been working from, is listen to the data.
Yeah. That study from 1980 is so telling, isn't it? Because when a couple sits down for session 1 of couples therapy, they are very, very convinced. It feels subjectively very convincing that my partner has to be different in order for this relationship to improve. That feels so true. And what that data what tells us is it flips it back on the self, right? Like I need to change the pair of glasses through which I experience my partner and take the risk because it's risky. When you've got walls built up, it's very convenient to feel justified staying back there behind your wall. And that finding is telling us that changing the relationship starts by entertaining the possibility that there are good things going on that you, in fact, are just blinded to. It is simultaneously like frustrating and humbling, but ultimately incredibly empowering.
It's true, because if you are really counting on your partner to change in order for the relationship to improve, you're counting on something that you have no control over. Another human being, another brain, another set of eyes, hands, etc. When you are only counting on yourself in terms of your behavior, your emotional expression, your heart, really, and what comes from there, your consideration, your thoughtfulness, your generosity, your sensuality, your warmth. When you're counting on yourself, that is empowering because you do have control over some of yourself, maybe not all of you, but some of you. And there's the power right there.
In your brand new book, The Love Prescription, you start right off with the reminder to all of us that love is a verb. It's a practice. And your mantra, also the name of your podcast, is small things often. Why do the small things often matter so much?
Yeah, that's a great question, Alexandra. What we observed in the apartment lab that Julie and I designed, where we saw 130 newlyweds just a couple of months after their wedding, was that there are these very small moments that are very powerful, where one person is trying to connect with the other and make a bid for connection, an attempt to connect with their partner. And when the camera switches to the partner to see the reaction, we score it as either turning toward, which is connecting with the partner, giving the partner attention, interest, support, affection, humor, whatever it is asked for, and or turning against, which is a kind of irritable response, or no response, turning away. 6 years later, we found that the couples who divorced within 6 years of the wedding, when we look back earlier, just a couple of months after the wedding, they were turning toward only 33% of the time. Whereas the people who stayed married 6 years earlier were turning toward 86% of the time. It's a huge difference in connection in what appear to be very small moments that are easily overlooked. And yet they build an emotional bank account in the relationship. That turning toward is extremely powerful.
I wonder sometimes if it is these romanticized notions that love is grand gestures, peak moments, sex that blows your mind, like that we sort of in this romanticized world, we kind of grasp for the big things to make the relationship okay. And here you have flipped it completely on its head and said, in fact, it is the small practices that really are the heart of what makes a relationship happy and satisfying and safe and connecting.
I think if you ground in the reality of life these days, especially in European, North American countries and so on, people are incredibly busy. People have amazing, crammed full of events life. They're running their kids to after school activities. They're having to grocery shop, clean the house. They are going to jobs. They're dual career couples, some people. They're running. So, I ask you, if you are really running fast, how well do you see the blade of grass that you run by? You're not going to see it very well. You have to slow down. Well, that blade of grass may be your partner that you're flying by. And you're not noticing that they look exquisitely beautiful today.
Mm.
You're not noticing that, wow, they emptied the dishwasher and that's not usually their chore. So you have to slow down enough to notice those small moments, those little tiny moments. It really makes such a huge difference because all of us want to be known. All of us want to be seen. All of us want to be mirrored in the best possible light, even when we're old and wrinkled. We want to see love in our partner's eyes. And the grand gestures, yes, will do something for a short time, but you know how short our attention spans are. So that grand gesture may last for a day, maybe a week, and then poof, it's gone and you're back into the checklist every day. So, how are you going to preserve that feeling of love while you're racing through time together? Well, it's these little moments. They don't take a huge amount of energy. You don't have to go shopping at, wherever, Neiman Marcus, to get the most expensive gift you can afford. You don't have to do that. You just have to say, "Good morning, you look lovely today." That's it. That's all it takes. And it makes, as John saw in the lab research, it makes such a huge, significant difference 6 years down the road in terms of whether the relationship is warm and caring and sweet and connected, or very distant or terribly conflicted, moving towards perhaps burial.
There's a great study that was done recently with 70,000 people in 24 countries, asking one question: what's the difference between people who say they have a great sex life and people who say they have an awful sex life? And, I expected the answer would be what they do in the bedroom would make the difference. But it's not. It's really people have a great sex life, say, "I love you" every day and mean it. They kiss one another passionately for no reason at all. They're affectionate, even in public. They give compliments. They have a weekly romantic date. It's small things often that really make a dramatic difference in the long run.
Okay, there is so much to learn from this conversation. I hope that you enjoyed revisiting it or hearing it for the first time if you are a newer listener. It is time now to get out your journal or pull up your notes app and answer the following questions. So here are your relational self-awareness questions / journaling prompts. Number 1, what messages did you receive growing up, either from your family, from culture, from media that you consumed, about how to express love? And in what ways were those messages limited? How might you update those messages based on what you heard in this clip? Number 2, what keeps you from making small gestures of love toward your partner? Or if you're reflecting on a past relationship, toward your past partner? What keeps you from accepting bids for connection from a partner? So we're looking here at constraints. What blocks you from giving? What blocks you from accepting? You might need to my vision for you is you make 2 columns on the page. What blocks me from making bids? What blocks me from accepting bids? And just kind of write or type just from that kind of unencumbered place inside of you. Is it discomfort? If so, get specific. What feels uncomfortable? Where do you feel it in your body? Is it fear? If so, specifically name the fear. What is the fear? Is it a sense you carry of unworthiness? If so, what is it that you want to meet that feeling of unworthiness? What does that unworthiness need to hear and know and remember from you about who you actually are? Number 3, in this clip, the Gottmans remind us that our perception of our partner ends up playing a huge role in the relationship dynamic, and that we actually might be missing positive moments and bids for connection that are already happening. So write down a commitment that you want to make this week to help you keep an eye out for the positive. So this third question is less of a question and more a commitment. What I want to practice this week that's going to help me with my negative perception, with my tendency to miss positive moments is ... Side note, that's not a you thing. It's an all of us thing. We're all at risk of missing bids and positivity that is happening around us. Number 4, what is something that you find beautiful about your partner, either inside or out? What would it be like for you to share it with them without any agenda, but just because it might light them up? All right, there you go. Enjoy your journaling, and I will see you here next time on Reimagining Love. Thank you for listening to our show. Our producers are Elizabeth Vogt and Mary Chan and Katie Paggett of Organized Sound Productions. Our theme music was composed by Slade Warnkin. The show is executive produced by me, Dr. Alexandra Solomon. Do you have a relationship question that you want answered on the show? Visit reimagininglove.com to send in a written or audio question. Questions can be about intimate partnerships, family relationships, friendships, you name it. If you're looking for more love and relationship content, you can find me on Instagram at dr.alexandra.solomon or visit my website, dralexandrasolomon.com, where you'll find my blog as well as the Intimate Relationships 101 e-course based off of the popular class I teach at Northwestern University. Thank you for listening and see you next week here on Reimagining Love.